Hello from Portland. After I made that video the other day about deciding to become a parent, I've been thinking more about the adoption process and things I want to share about that. I try not to be oversensitive about it, but when you're an adoptive parent, you see things in the culture, and especially in children's entertainment and literature, that can kind of drive you crazy. One thing that always bothered me, though, was books and cartoons where the whole focus of the story was on the fact that the parents and the kids looked alike, and that was the most important thing about being a family, is that you all looked alike. And I distinctly remember one day I was home with Carter and we were watching Dora the Explorer, and I liked Dora just fine, although we were more of a Diego family, but Dora was fun. But Dora was doing this whole long segment about trying to match up mothers and babies, and of course it was, oh, they can't go together because they're different animals. And totally innocent, I don't mind it, but it was just so, it just went again and again on this idea that the essence of family is looking alike. And what was cool was the same day we flipped channels later in the day and they were showing a cartoon called Todd World, which is based on the work of Todd Parr, who's an amazing children's author. It was just so nice to see that portrayal of a family relationship that wasn't based on, oh, we look alike. But by far the worst offender here is a book called Are You My Mother? I just hate this book. I don't think I'm being oversensitive about it. I think it is just wrong-headed from beginning to end. The baby bird meets this series of other animals and asks each animal, are you my mother? And the answer is always, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. We're different animals. I can't be your mother. And all the comedy comes from, oh, isn't this baby bird silly for thinking these different animals can be its mother? There's not even the suggestion that you might want to help out a baby who didn't look like you. Now, I understand these are animals, but they're talking, so they are being endowed with some human characteristics, but none of them have any sense of empathy or concern for this baby wandering around looking for its mother. Luckily, Carter loved Dr. Seuss, just loved Dr. Seuss, the Lorax in particular, but you could read him any Dr. Seuss. And we read a very early Dr. Seuss book called Horton Hatches the Egg, which is basically about adoption. It's yet another bird that takes off and leaves its baby unattended. Birds are not good parents in these books. But this bird wants to go hang out in Florida and she doesn't want to sit on her egg, so she convinces Horton the elephant to sit on the egg. And the first time we read it, I got kind of emotional because at the end of the book, the egg hatches and it's an elephant bird. His connection to the egg was so strong that it actually physically changed the appearance of the bird. Now that's terrible biology, I understand that. It's a Dr. Seuss book, it's not Origin of the Species. But it really did say something very important through the visual language and the image of this bird coming out, kind of reflecting some of the characteristics it was born with, but some of the characteristics of its adoptive parent. And I did get very emotional reading these lines. It should be like that. Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. I actually did some research on this book, on Horton Hatches the Egg, because I was curious how it came about, and found a wonderful blog about Dr. Seuss called Seussblog, and I'll put a link in the description. But apparently the story started with Dr. Seuss just had this idea, wouldn't it be funny to have an elephant sitting on an egg? And in the original version of the story, which was done for a magazine, the elephant sits on the egg, and then the egg hatches, and the mother bird comes back, and the baby bird wants nothing to do with Horton. And the moral of the story, it's actually, there's at the bottom of the story, there's written, don't hatch other people's eggs. That's a very bleak message. To basically say, you shouldn't care about any babies unless they are genetically related to you. And I'm so glad he changed his mind. I'm not sure what changed Dr. Seuss's mind, but at some point the story went completely the other direction and went toward reaffirming how close a connection you can have as an adoptive parent. There's something much more true and genuine in Horton Hatches the Egg. What he's describing, the kind of connection, is very real and has been experienced by many, many, many adoptive parents. And it should be like that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.